I'm Colonel Damon De La Rosa, Commander, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Alaska District. Thank you for allowing me a few moments to introduce myself and provide some opening comments. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge our nation's continuing health crisis as COVID endures, impacting our lives and very recently your own families and communities. I want to thank each of you for your time and interest in this update about the Northeast Cape formerly used defense site on St. Lawrence Island. We appreciate your time and commitment to participate in our FUDS project within your community and cultural areas of importance. As the District Commander, I place a priority on working with our Alaska Native partners to build functional and collaborative relationships in meeting the Corps' environmental restoration obligations. I'm excited about the critical work the Corps of Engineers is accomplishing in this great state. I have emphasized the importance of establishing strong tribal partnerships to our project management teams, regardless of whether they are involved in regulatory permitting, civil works design and construction, environmental cleanup, or other activities. Our relationships with Alaska Native communities and corporations provides our project teams with much needed perspective to help shape our project delivery in communities such as yours. While I wish we could meet in person, this virtual update is meant to provide more than just information. It reflects the high regard we have for open and transparent communication with your community as we move forward with environmental remediation efforts at Northeast Cape. I believe that strengthening of our partnership begins with effective communication that leverages opportunities to engage often, share meaningfully, and listen thoughtfully. We appreciate your interest and involvement in the environmental cleanup project near your community, as well as efforts to help identify and protect areas of cultural importance. Despite the current health crisis, I assure you that the Alaska District will continue to keep you informed and updated to the best of our ability. In closing, I want to acknowledge the many of you who have served in the military or worked in the public sector. As community role models, you lead by example and represent what others aspire to become. Thank you for your dedicated service to our nation in helping to foster the next generation of military members and civil servants. Thank you again for this opportunity to introduce myself and share some thoughts. My team and I welcome your input and feedback as we work together to achieve project success.
Hello, my name is Andy Sorum, and I am a project manager with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Alaska District. I am honored to be working on the Northeast Cape formerly used defense sites project to continue our environmental work on St. Lawrence Island. The people of St. Lawrence Island have served a vital role in protecting our nation, and it is a privilege to work with you on the maintenance of the Northeast Cape site. We hope you find this informational video helpful to understand the core processes and authorities that allow us to clean up Northeast Cape. Furthermore, we hope that it encourages you to engage with us at every opportunity to help shape our efforts. In this video, we will briefly explain the legal process we followed to study the contamination left by the Department of Defense and the remedies which were selected after discussion with the public. We will also talk about the review process we go through every 5 years and the latest results. Finally, we will explain our plan for the maintenance work during the summer of 2022. The purpose of the formerly used defense sites program is to provide environmental restoration of properties which were formerly in the possession of the Department of Defense. The Northeast Cape FUDS site was constructed as an aircraft control and warning station in the early 1950s to provide radar coverage and surveillance as part of the Alaska Early Warning System. It operated until 1969. The main sources of contamination at the site are attributed to spills and leaks of fuel products associated with storage tanks and associated piping. Other sources of contamination include electrical transformers, waste stored in drums, and other miscellaneous facility activities. Our environmental restoration efforts are focused on the protection of human health and the environment. and may include removal of contaminants and its sources, or treatment on site. At Northeast Cape, we have done each of these methods and continue to monitor the remedies for their protectiveness. Looking toward the future, we will continue to ask the Department of Defense for funding to monitor the remedies. We are committed to keeping the people of St. Lawrence Island informed of our plans and activities. If you have questions, concerns, or comments, please feel free to email me at the address shown. Next, one of our environmental engineers will discuss the remedy selection process and implementation.
Hello, my name is Aaron Shewman. I'm an environmental engineer with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Alaska District. I've been working on the Northeast Cape formerly used defense site since 2009. I will explain the process the Army Corps of Engineers followed to study the contamination left by the Department of Defense and the remedies that were selected with oversight from the Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation and after discussion with the public. Remedial investigation and cleanup activities followed requirements of the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, commonly referred to as CERCLA. CERCLA is a federal law. In accordance with CERCLA, an environmental assessment was conducted in 1985. Remedial investigation activities occurred from 1994 to 2002. A risk assessment was completed in 2004, which was followed by a feasibility study in 2007 and a proposed plan in 2008. During this time frame, water, soil, and sediment samples were collected from each of the 34 sites at this FUDS to determine the nature and extent of contamination and identify and evaluate potential cleanup remedies. Based on sample results, cleanup remedies for sites with contamination were described in 2 decision documents that were signed in 2009. Cleanup activities were conducted from 2010 to 2014 and included the excavation and removal of a total of approximately 44,000 tons of contaminated soil and sediments, removal of miscellaneous debris, capping 2 landfills, and establishing a groundwater monitoring well network. Sites with residual contaminants above site-specific cleanup levels have been reviewed on either a 5-year or periodic basis. The first 5-year review report was completed in February 2015. The second 5-year review report was completed in February 2020. Next, we will discuss the general review process, results of the most recent reviews, and fieldwork plan during 2022.
Hi, my name is Monty Garut with Brice. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers completed the second 5-year review and the second periodic review at Northeast Cape in 2020. 5-year reviews are a process for reviewing sites that are regulated under the CERCLA process, while periodic reviews are a process for sites that are solely petroleum contaminated and therefore are not regulated by CERCLA. For both 5-year reviews and periodic reviews, the implementation and performance of the selected remedies at the sites are evaluated. The methods, findings, and conclusions of data reviews and site inspections are summarized, and issues and recommendations related to remedy implementation are documented. The review process involves 6 steps, including a public involvement step, a community questionnaire, document review, a site visit and inspection, data review, performing a protectiveness assessment, and then developing a review report. In the reports for the Northeast Cape FUDS site, 5-year and periodic reviews, the protectiveness assessment identified several issues that will need to be addressed to ensure the site is protective long-term. Protectiveness of human health and the environment is evaluated by addressing 3 questions. 1. Is the remedy functioning as intended at the sites? 2. Are the exposure assumptions, chemical toxicity factors, and remedial action objectives used at the time of remedy selection still valid? And 3. Has any information come to light that could call into question the protectiveness of the remedy? The first issue affecting protectiveness was that for several sites, land use control documentation has not been completed. Land use controls are often implemented at a site by a landowner to prevent activities that may expose site users to contamination. To address this, it was recommended that land use controls be implemented with a deed notice that will be in the form of an environmental covenant. The second issue identified was regarding Site 8, where the extent of petroleum contamination in soil has not been fully delineated. To address this issue, the extent of petroleum contamination at Site 8 will be delineated with additional soil sampling. This soil delineation will take place during the 2022 proposed fieldwork. The third issue identified that several groundwater monitoring wells at the former main operating complex needed maintenance. This maintenance will also be conducted during 2022 fieldwork. The fourth issue identified that petroleum-contaminated soil above site-specific cleanup levels remains at depth at Site 15 within the former main operating complex. This issue will be addressed during the 2022 fieldwork with an excavation of Site 15. Finally, the fifth issue identified as affecting protectiveness at the Northeast Cape FUDS sites is that sediment with petroleum contamination remains in several areas at Site 28, which includes several ponds and linear water bodies north of the main operations complex. The selected remedy at this site was the removal of contaminated sediment, and to address the remaining contamination, pilot testing will continue in 2022 to determine the most effective way to continue removing sediment at the site. Several issues were also identified in the 5-year and periodic reviews that do not affect protectiveness at the Northeast Cape FUDS sites. This includes adjustments to remedy documentation based on newly promulgated regulations, the revision of the specific analytes included in groundwater monitoring, and the identification of a previously unknown source at an existing site. Fieldwork in 2022 and follow-up reporting and documentation will address these issues. For further information on the 5-year and periodic review process and the Northeast Cape FUDS site issues and recommendations, see the 2020 5-year review report, the 2020 multi-site periodic review report, and the 2020 Site 7 periodic review report.
Hello, I'm Scotty Mann with Brice. For this segment, we will introduce each of the field tasks that will be completed in 2022. Starting in May of 2022, equipment and supplies will be mobilized from Anchorage to Seward, Alaska. From Seward, all equipment and supplies will be transported to Northeast Cape via Brice Marine barge. All equipment and supplies are anticipated to be in Northeast Cape by the end of June 2022. Personnel will stay on site in a self-supported camp with full-time cook and camp attendant. An emergency medical technician will also be on site for medical response. Brice will have a combination of operators, laborers, surveyors, engineers, and scientists that are familiar working in Alaska remote locations. The fieldwork is anticipated to last 45 days. Several small maintenance tasks were identified in the periodic review that require fieldwork in 2022. This includes repairs to site gravel roads and the gravel airstrip where necessary. A failed culvert and sinkhole observed in the gravel road between the airstrip and Site 8 during 2018 field activities will be repaired if needed. A new approximately 40-foot long culvert will be installed, and if necessary, sinkhole will be filled in with burial source material. Any observed damage areas of the gravel road and airstrip will also be repaired to ensure safe travels during fieldwork season. In addition, an estimated 50 cubic yards of fill material will be transported from the local burial source area for the road and airstrip repair. Inspection and maintenance of 2 land use control signs are also part of the maintenance task. 2 LUC signs are located at the airstrip along the gravel road south of Site 3. These signs indicate where groundwater use for purpose of drinking water or ground disturbing activities are not recommended. The signs will be inspected for damage and reinstalled if visual evidence of frost heaving or damage is observed. Maintenance will also be performed at Site 7 Cargo Beach Road Landfill, where in accordance with the issues and recommendations identified in the 2020 periodic review report, fill material will be transported from the local burial source area and placed within the 2 settled areas of the landfill cap that were identified during the 2018 site inspection.
In addition, miscellaneous possible dangerous debris and empty drums or drum carcasses encountered at the site will be collected, inspected, containerized, transported, and disposed off-site. At Site 8, to address issues identified in the 2020 Multi-Site Periodic Review Report, a soil investigation will be conducted with a drill rig and hand auger to determine the remaining petroleum contamination east of the 2016 sampling area. At the main operations complex, groundwater sampling will be conducted to track the natural attenuation of contaminants in groundwater. In addition, maintenance will be conducted on 3 damage monitoring wells. Also, at the main operations complex, an excavation will be conducted at Site 15 to remove diesel-contaminated soil that remains following the 2013 excavation efforts. The target excavation area will be advanced to an anticipated depth of 12 to 15 feet below ground surface for an estimated 430 cubic yards of excavated material. The last major field effort we will discuss involves the removal and disposal of petroleum-impacted sediment at Site 28. Site 28 consists of a series of discrete ponds and linear interconnected water features. Field activities at Site 28 consist of a pilot test of several techniques for sediment dredging and removal, followed by a full-scale implementation based on the pilot test results. A total of 196 cubic yards of sediments are targeted for removal at several areas. Following sediment removal activities at each area, sediment sampling and mapping will be completed to identify remaining sediment presence and depth. Following completion of field activities, all equipment, materials, and waste streams will be demobilized from Northeast Cape in mid-August. Once demobilization is complete and all analytical results are received, Brice will complete a detailed report summarizing all field activity results and recommendations for future program requirements.